The following program contains strong language and violent scenes.
What is it, 26? Where are you, America? You
No,
Northern
Canada,
Hemisphere?
still 25th. So I have to go pick up my reparations check.
All right, on. All right.
Incentives.
See, when you get your reparations check, what you want to do is you want to, because money doesn't exist to people in the real world. What you want to do is you want to say this money doesn't exist, and you want to cross it all out, and then you want to put on a new check, right? And say so with a forward slash or whatever, and so it says whatever this angry bastard said and something, and then on the other one, I think the angry bastard he was saying something about like some angry bastard shit, like
I've already got the money. Sitting in my account.
I'm trying to talk on the
Trudy
phone.
donate. Good old Trudy deposited already.
Hold up. Hey. No. Who am I talking to?
Blue.
Where's Bird?
Bird is wrangling juice.
Not you, Blue. I know you.
Go. Green flag.
No, because I tried to give some. So like it's like the 25th going on to the 26th now.
Yeah.
I went to see me kiddo on the 21st. I had like a bag full of fucking books and all kinds of shit and that, you know.
Yeah.
Like when I see her and that, and she was just like fucking hyped to see me and that, which was really cool. But like then, like, I was kind of like fucking like. It's like you get this weird thing where it's like like I ain't seen her for so long, like I need to be fucking you know, but what we did was it's like she's really interested in psychology and that, so I got us I got us both a psychology book off Amazon. I got one for each of us, and it's like
really cool.
and so it's got like at the end of it's like it's one of them ones that says it's got like everything you need to know in one book, but at the end of each chapter, it's got like questions to go over the last chapter type thing. And so I said to her, we'll both get the same book, and then what we do is like we'll read one chapter, and then next time I get to speak to her on the phone, we can kind of test each other on the first chapter, and then the next time we teach each other on the second chapter type thing. So it'd be like, we're kind of like learning it together type thing. So it'd be like we're doing something together, even though like we're not together type thing.
It's a really cool thing.
She was hyped for that, man. That was pretty cool.
Definitely. Like, it's something to look forward to every time you talk to him. You know, like.
Yeah. Because like I've been getting to speak to her more on the phone recently, but like she's like 14, going on 15 now, and it's like fuck, man. It's like it's good to have something there as a baseline, as so we've got something that we can discuss, you know. Because like, I don't know how to talk to a fucking 15-year-old, you know. But yeah, she's really into it and that, man. So like we've been doing that, and she's into like she's really into like horror and that. So I've got her I've got a Lovecraft, like all of the Lovecraft stuff and that, like big book. I've got her a book of Robert Bloch stories. You know, Robert Bloch wrote He's the one who wrote Psycho. He was like Lovecraft's protege
okay.
type thing. So
Damn.
I've got a book of his short stories. I've got
Oh, that's so cool.
what else? What else was it? There was a psychology book. There was I've got this one from online by Amanuensis Child, and he's like he does like really good short stories that are like kind of like Lovecraft type style stuff. And then what was the other one? I forgot what I was waffling about. The other one was what was I talking about? Just fucking talking this shit. Uh, 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 I've got her a book of she's into I don't like the fact that she's into like anime and that, but she likes Junji Ito. You know, he does like the horror type ones.
Yeah.
So she's into that type stuff. So I've got her a book about like yokai, about one that's about like all the folklore about like yokai and that, which is like Japanese folklore about monsters and shit. Yeah, she seems like that one.
No, that's fucking good, bro. Rare people be reading and shit nowadays.
But yeah, she reads more than me, man. She reads a lot, man. It's cool.
But a good one is that Classic Tales, a horror book, because it has probably about 4 to 7 different authors in it.
Hold on, I'll be back.
What, like Brothers Grimm type stuff? Do you mean, or?
Oh, I've got the book and I'll read you off from that. You've got Classic Tales, a horror. Um, Alan Poe, Bram Stoker, Washington Irving,
Right.
Amber Breese, Edith Wallow,
Yeah.
more Edgar Allan Poe, H.P. Lovecraft, John William Pardo.
See, Lovecraft and Poe, like Poe has been fucking brutalized in recent years. Like they did, you know, Fall of the House of Usher by Poe. They
This
did a
one,
series. They did a series of that on Amazon.
The
Like in the
Complete
last few
Works of
years.
William Shakespeare. Right? That's a good fucking book. Like, it's hard to bastardize William Shakespeare, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
Unlike Edgar Allan
No,
Poe.
no, you're right. Like some of the Shakespeare ones might be the only stuff because of the way it's written and like the language,
Yes,
in the way it's
you have
written.
shit
That's
to be
like
thankful.
one of the that's one of the few that can't be completely like raped into some kind of you know, new progressive
Well,
agenda.
I find
It's like more.
George Orwell's very hard to replicate
Oh,
or
bro.
mimic.
So
Especially, let's say, if fuck 1984, if you would compare Animal
yeah,
Farm,
yeah, yeah.
just for the way
Well,
it's the tongue in cheek way it's written.
so I got her. I bought her. It was like in like it was like two books in one. I got a 1984 an Animal Farm a few years back.
Yeah, they're good.
I've been looking at the curriculum for what's in the curriculum like currently, and there's a story by Orwell. There's a book by Orwell called Down and Out in Paris and France, and it's like
Yes,
it's an autobiographical one where like, you know, he's like working on the ships in France and that, and then to come back to England, and he's like, you know, living on the street and like bumming off churches and all that kind of stuff. That's like in the curriculum right now. So I bought a couple of copies of that because I know the story, but like I bought two
it's always
copies.
good
So
to
I
have a
could,
refresher.
yeah. So I
Yeah,
bought two copies so I could like refresh myself and send one to her, and like she can because she's doing like homeschooling at the moment, but like there's so if you look up like the curriculum for the age she's at, there's like set texts that you can or should work from, and then there's like a lot of them are kind of you can't use them for a lot of them you can't use for trying to think how to describe it, like if you have to do like a self-made assignment type thing. When you have to do those type things, there's you can't use Bright, so she like does a lot of reading on her own and that. So
I can always suggest Ray Bradburn's 451 Fahrenheit.
Ray
It's the same.
Bradbury.
Yeah, Ray Bradbury's 451
Yeah.
Fahrenheit, or
Yeah, that's
even.
and if you like Ray Bradbury, check out J.G. Ballard. He's some of his are really good. There's I read one of his where it was like J.G. Ballard's got like an autobiographical one from he grew up in he was living in Japan as the Second World War was kicking off, and
Shit.
so like it's really interesting kind of from that perspective where he's like. So he's in Japan as like there's like warships coming up the fucking the rivers and that and all kinds of shit going on. It's really really good. But he's really good at the kind of like so 451 Fahrenheit. It's kind of like a dystopian
Dystopian
type one.
future. Yeah. I love my dystopian fucking futures, bro.
Like J.G. Ballard is really good at that type of thing. There's one that's about there's one where it's about these people or this one guy. It's very similar to the movie Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, know of it. Yes.
It's very similar to that in that this guy goes into the jungle and there's this tribe there and kind of a satellite has crashed into their village and they now worship that as it's like a cargo cult and so they now worship this crashed satellite and it's kind of from the perspective of this guy who goes in there and so you see these people worshipping this thing, but there's also some kind of real kind of magic going on in there's certain people within the village who've got these kind of magical properties and and there's an American kind of implanted in that village where the satellite crashed who's kind of who's got that kind of god complex thing going on like in Apocalypse Now where it's
It reminds me a bit of Doom, a bit of Spice Melange or some shit coming in.
yeah.
But I'm sorry, can you just what's the author's name again so I can write it down?
So it's J.G. Ballard, Ballard. If you go on if you go on archive.org and you look up J.G. Ballard Vanishing Point, there's some really good audio kind of adaptations made for radio from some of his stories. So
I'm old-fashioned. I prefer just an actual physical book I can hold. You can't get glare on a screen or nothing.
Yeah. Check out J.G. Ballard. Like he's very like so. One another good one of his. It's kind of it's the whole thing is set in let's say you've got a motorway, right? Let's say there's an embankment going down the side of this motorway, and there's this area in the middle there, and a certain distance across, there's a motorway going the other way. There's one that's set entirely within that space in between those motorways. Really, it's really good.
Just the dichotomy between, you've got two flowing bits of traffic and that small but vast strip of land between the two. That does sound
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. So someone ends up sort of down there, and then ends up in the natives to that little middle piece of ground. It kind of ends up in their world. Like it's really interesting. There's another really good one where it's kind of set so they're watching some sort of event on TV, and there's some sort of time loop that starts happening, and the guy becomes aware of it as he's seeing it happen. Like it, it obviously this sounds like nonsense because I can't describe it
No,
properly, but yeah.
like that's a good book then. If it's hard for you to describe, that I'm still intrigued and I want to go pick it up.
Yeah.
That's a
I,
good book.
I would definitely recommend J.G. Ballard. Definitely.
This is probably the
Uh,
best Edgar Allan Poe book. It's comedy and satires. Really good. It hasn't been doctored or nothing, and it has what lionizing, loss of breath, king pest, a tale of Jerusalem, how to write a Blackwood article for Blackwood, a predicament, the devil in the Baffery, the man. Oh wait, which one did I like really well? It's like the hunt for the golden cricket or something. Weird.
okay.
But it's got some
And
real like
who is that? That's Poe.
yeah, that's Edgar Allan Poe,
Okay.
comedies and satires. For a book, I remember you saying like Poe's work does get bastardized a lot, but I do find this one to be fairly good when it comes down to just a good classic book.
I'll
It's
check that
got
out,
that
mate.
classic writing style of like what Mark Twain and shit. Where you have the black characters, counting 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, master. No, master. Yeah.
Monkey, monkey,
It,
monkey.
there's only a couple of his
What's
that
up, Juice?
I'm kind of.
And everyone.
There's only a couple of his that I'm kind of familiar with. There's I used to listen to like a lot of old time radio, and there was one with Boris. I think it was Boris Karloff. Um, he did one. They did a version of the Telltale Heart on Inner Sanctum Mysteries, and and it's slightly different because like it's set up so from the beginning there's like one of them's blind and one of them's deaf, and and like it sounds like a setup to a bad joke, but
It does.
it's like quite well put together. But and I've heard some good versions of Pit in the Pendulum, like that that's some dark shit if you kind of get into it. But there was so they did a series on Amazon a while back, like the fall of the House of Usher, and it it, it was so fucking mangled beyond recognition. It was genuinely upsetting. It's like if I see anything on TV that says it's based on Lovecraft. Like there was a series called Lovecraft Country or something, and I deliberately didn't watch that because I just don't want to feel sad, because
Yeah, it's
they
like
they
if you ever want to speed run depression, just read
yeah.
fucking Anne Frank's diary. Like that shit's depressing as hell.
Well, I mean, also if you wanna, you know, if maybe you got some spare hand cream, because I mean,
It's gonna be a hard pull through, but I know what you're getting at.
well, no, I mean the way I haven't read it. Like, I'm not very well read. I'm sure that's shocking to hear, but I'm not
I've
particularly
got
well
Anne
read.
Frank's diary on
But
my bookshelf.
but like yeah, but isn't my understanding is that a lot of it is about just kind of frigging off.
Well, see, her father actually made some amendments to the book because she
Yes.
turned around and took out like when she was on her rags or thinking about boys and shit like that.
Yeah.
But for the like broader aspect of the story, it still doesn't take anything away from it because it's still
Okay.
you're still given that input and aspect into her life where like yeah you don't really need all that fucking shit, but that's where people turn around and be like, oh well, why would her father then make amendments to the book? It's like any bloke wouldn't want to fucking read about their daughter, you know, getting randy and shit, and it's to give a
What?
little bit more respect to his daughter.
Well, no, like I say, the way I heard it was that he kind of highlighted, he kind of sensationalized the frigging off aspects. That was what I was kind of like, okay, I don't need to read this, you
It's
know.
just it's more,
Uh,
it wasn't sensational, like it wasn't given, it was more because it wasn't technically written about. Like what you have that fucking 50 Shades of Grey nowadays, where you have that sort of smut in books, where
yeah,
before then you would have to actually go out of your way to
I
go
find
to, you
something
know, an
with
adult
smut in
bookstore or
it.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where like if the just to be, you know, like for the time, a lot of different war biographies and shit were going on, and still to this day they're being posted and printed and all that shit. A bit like the Catholic priest who is attributed to saving an entire generation of Jewish children just by
Mm.
working with a doctor and saying they had fucking typhus, and they gave them an inactive fucking thing of typhus so they would test positive, and then the Nazis didn't want them in camps because too many diseases, you'd fuck up your slave force.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a weird point in history.
Yeah. Um, like I say, I'm not a well-read guy, so I kind of a lot of what I think I know is kind of secondhand, but but uh, I feel like there's some truth in that. So kind of in 1930s, early 40s Germany, a lot of what was being burnt was uh, uh, it, the Sex Institute, which was kind of promoting transgenderism. It was pornography and stuff like that, which was the thing Hitler had. Was one of his main issues was with smut, basically. Um,
Yeah,
I don't know how. I
he had
don't
a
know how
problem
true
with
that is.
smart.
That's just
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
he
yeah.
may have had a problem with smart, but it still doesn't sort of hold flame to the fact that he made what was it? The whole fucking you know, the Ubermensch, fucking blonde hair,
Well,
blue eyed, fucking all that shit. You know,
well. How many top level Nazis do you know who were blonde haired and blue eyed?
none. Which is the funniest thing because they
Well,
weren't speaking about them; they were speaking about the greater Aryan race,
well, I
which
mean,
was also
well,
a falsity and a falsity because fucking
well,
they turned
do
around
you,
and found a scientist who did a false paper and then spent an absurd amount of time turning around and
well,
being like, ooh,
it's like,
maybe
do you know where the term Aryan comes from?
it comes from fucking what's the name? Nordic tribes and Nordic races.
No, no, no,
Oh, really? Okay, enlighten me,
no.
brother.
Aryan, Iran. So it's about the Caucasoid people who came from the Caucasoid Mountains that comes down. It's like Middle East. It's like Iran, Syria, like those kind of areas.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Hmm.
so it's like and the blonde haired, blue eyed meme is that's not actually That's I can't I can't quote you evidence for this because you know I'm not a smart guy, but like it's stuff that I have you know looked into in that you know off the back of listening to you know people talk about it and like the blonde hair blue eye thing wasn't really what they were talking about. Like I mean, Hitler.
Look at the propaganda videos put out by the
Well,
SS propaganda department. What were all of them
well,
soldiers? They were over 6 foot. They were blue-eyed, blonde-haired. They were high on meth. They were high on fucking methadone. Okay, that's
well,
why it created that
well,
super soldier that could get shot
well,
and keep on going.
well, yeah. I mean, those Panzer commanders,
And
they were all on
I mean,
they were all on amphetamine. They were on
yes,
Pervitin.
that's
It's called.
that's how they
Uh,
did their
uh,
72-hour
that was like,
blitzkrieg.
yeah. I mean, that
And
it.
then on top of that, the leader of the SS and the inventor of the SS was considered too Jew, so he wasn't allowed to be an SS soldier. That's Heinrich Himmler.
Who's that then? Heinrich
Heinrich
Himmler.
Himmler. Yeah. He was too
Heinrich.
Jew to
What?
be.
No. Heinrich Himmler. He was a genuine occultist. So he was responsible for kind of the Black Sun
The
being
black,
kind of a
yes, the
meme
Night of the Long
within.
Knives and shit. The way that
Well, no,
the grey
well,
shirts
no,
and the brown
but,
shirts were then
but,
massacred,
but I'm talking
or
about the
because they
Black
were gay.
Sun. I'm talking about the Black Sun as a symbol with the 12 rays, and I mean it's not a it's not a German symbol. It's been around in all cultures
Well,
all over the
what do you
world.
think? What do you think the
You know,
swastika is? Was a swastika a German symbol?
no,
No,
it's the
the
Gamma
swastika
Dion.
was used for peace and love and prosperity.
Well,
That's why
not
there's
even
Buddhist temples that have a
not
swastika carved in on it. There's even
not it,
English
it it's
monasteries
not
that have
it's
swastikas.
not even it's not even so much as peace and love. It's called the Gamma Dion. That actual symbol, the Gamma Dion.
Yeah,
And so it's not just about peace and love. It you know it represents the rotation of the stars. So it's an astrological thing. You know, it's kind of it's there are a whole lot of different kind of context for it.
bunch of different
You know,
nuances.
yeah.
It's a bit like in what Japan. They fucking turn around and there's a big thing for Nazis and shit, and they have like festivals and crap, and they just think it's like
Well,
a
I
display
mean,
to the rest of the world.
so see a few months
Just
back.
like a
See, a few months back, there was so in California there were three over the space of a few months. There were three separate occasions where dead oarfish washed up on the beach. Did you read about any of that? So,
Sorry, bro. Just pulled a cone, but
so I know I'm talking a lot of shit. Like you can laugh at me, that's fine.
I'm sorry, bro. I just pulled my first cone. I actually didn't read anything about that. I'm just trying not
Okay,
to die. I'm
okay.
gonna be
So in Japanese folklore, you know, when oarfish or it's when basically not necessarily oarfish, but when deep sea fish wash up on shore, it's a bad omen of like you know something bad's about to happen, and kind of the Western interpretation of that used to be that it's because you know when there's tectonic activity going on just you know at a certain place, then you will get certain deep sea fish washing up on shore because they've been killed by the tectonic activity, and then you know in a couple of weeks or a couple of months or whatever it may be, then there's going to be a natural disaster, you know. And so within the last, I think I think it started in like September maybe through November, beginning of December. there were like 3 occasions of oarfish washing up dead on the beaches in California, specifically on California beaches. And this was like this has only happened like 100 times within like the last 100 years, and now it's happened 3 times within the last 3-4 months in this one specific area. So it's very possible some big fucking quake is about to hit, you know, off the shore of America or whatever.
Well, like, look at the Three Gorges Dam in China. Slows the Earth's rotation, massive ecological effects, and the whole reason why everyone likes going on about the Three Gorges Dam is because you hit that bitch with one bomb, and then we're all just sitting back looking at the fluid dynamics. Like, China went on about Japan releasing nuclear reactor water from Fukushima, yet they neglect to realize that every single one of their nuclear reactors put out 6 to 7 times the amount of pollution as any nuclear reactor, any nuclear water that's being released by Fukushima, because it meets international fucking nuclear regulation standards, unlike China that doesn't care.
It's not even just that. Like, see, like 2 years after the meltdown at Fukushima, yeah, like 2 years later, like you could detect radiation in the water off the coast of New Zealand, and you could really detect it if you went to the Antarctic, like South Pole and that, right?
Well,
So,
to be honest, going to the South Pole and Antarctic and shit is moot because of polar ice caps melting, and because of Chernobyl, you can still check the radiation levels from Chernobyl in the ice because of the radioactive isotope decay.
Yeah, definitely. But like, see, there's a few years ago, there was a scientist guy I was listening to, and so he was saying, so you know, there you're not supposed to be able to go whaling, right? But there are still whaling vessels, you know, like
yeah. Look at Japan.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly, from
It's
Japan.
the only way it can get a large amount of food.
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
a small amount of effort.
That's exactly where it's coming from. But so he was saying that, like, so there are repurposed whaling vessels, and so they've got this thing on the back of the ship. It's kind of like a forklift that goes down into the water, and it would have been used to pick a whale up, bring it up onto the deck.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is they're going from Japan. They're going traveling to the South Pole with all this toxic waste. They're using that forklift thing on the back of the ship. They can kind of drop it down and then drop it into the water, bring it back up clear, type thing.
See,
They're saying
look at simply the fact that Japan for the last, I think they've been starting 5 years from as far as I can remember, but they're actually hollowing out an entire mountain for nuclear storage, not only for their nuclear waste, but for the rest of the world's nuclear waste. And that's only because of most nuclear storage facilities are either subpar or, like, let's say if you take the deep blue hole or the atoll islands where America was doing a bunch of their testing, where they basically dug a giant hole and chucked all the fucking radiation and nuclear radiation in there. But because it's too close to the ocean and the fact that it degrades over time, they're worried about a massive ecological disaster happening by said containment leaking out into the ocean.
The Bikini Atoll. That's one of so you know there's people who have these the conspiracy theories about not only deep underground bases but deep undersea bases.
Yes.
Bikini Atoll is one of the places where they say that's one of the areas where they built that. But because because there's been all this radioactive shit dropped on it. It's like no one's rolling around there seeing what's going on. So it's kind of
It's
a
the same
perfect place
thing.
to build something like that.
Technically, it's the same thing with Ukraine. Before the Ukraine-Russia war, when Russia was just encroaching on their borders and shit, Ukraine actually said to Russia, "We want you to clean up the nuclear testing sites that you had on our country."
Yeah.
So Ukraine gave Russia that land. You want to know what Russia did? They resumed nuclear testing.
Of course they fucking did. I bet they did as well, man.
We'll clean it. We'll clean it when we're done with it.
Yeah. What was that one? There's the really big one. I can't remember the name of it, but I had a whole book about it. It was about this one area. It was in Siberia, I
In
think.
Russia? Yep.
Um,
That's the main Russian nuclear testing site where just
yeah.
a simple concrete pillar
So,
has more radiation than the background of space.
well, yeah, no, but remember there was this one incident. It's not Tunguska, but it sounded like something similar to that. It was somewhere out in that Siberian region where, like,
When the sun fell to Earth.
where basically, yeah, like the book I had, it was kind of putting forward that it was a big pile of antimatter that hit the Earth.
Technically,
Because
if you look at
because
physics and you look at
the
theoretical physics, every
the de-
physical piece of matter we have. Sorry.
no, go on.
If you look at theoretical physics, for every physical piece of matter we have, so that's matter we're considered matter, but we're considered light
Yeah,
matter.
of course.
But for
Yeah.
every bit of matter that's in the world, there should be equal dark matter or antimatter, and that's like caveat in science.
This is the thing. Like antimatter, dark matter is kind of the theory, but like the devastation over this area, over Siberia somewhere, was so it was so absolute. Like it didn't just level all of the fucking trees in like an X amount of 100-mile radius. Like it extincted all life in all of the water systems in that area. Like it completely fucking annihilated everything. Like it really did annihilate everything. And so the book I had, it was kind of saying that like this was like some antimatter hit the earth. But like the flip side of that is that people are saying Russia were testing something and they just annihilated this hundreds and hundreds of square kilometers area.
Look at look at the Taza bomber. That was only detonated at 30% of its actual power, and then because it was actually detonated, and because it caused a localized EMP, that caused the rest of the broader nuclear community to say no outer orbital Earth testing, because they didn't realize that when you hit a fucking nuke in space, it does create a localized EMP field that technically wiped out half the eastern seaboard. On the same hand, look at the Russian dealing of a terrorist attack where they put in an unknown gas that knocked out all the terrorists, that knocked out all the hostages, and then that caused that terrorist to then go commit worse terrorist attacks because he said that the gas fucked his mind up. So Russia is weird when it comes down to the Soviet Union, and then the fact that they had a bunch of shit and it was a closed secular system, but then turning around and these motherfuckers being like, shit, we got these terrorists. We're not considered any part of the fucking communist government anymore, but we've got unknown weapons that we want to use. That's the problem.
I'm going to follow on with your premise, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What if the South says their weapons are targeting some kind of algorithm that we don't acknowledge?
What's it? Okay, so what you're coming into is
So
the propensity and use for AI in wartime scenarios and wartime strategies.
yeah, it's weird. I've kind of deliberately gone into that, but I want to steer away from that as well. So, so what I
You're
want to
fine. You're
ask is,
fine, my brother. You're fine, my brother.
so
Continue.
what I want to so what I want to ask is, yeah. So we know the propensity for AI that can find a fault in any of that, but ultimately that AI is programmed by men, and they can veto its decisions. They can reprogram it, type thing.
Oh, it's so look
So,
at how
so
they train an AI model, right? For military applications. There's protocols against any internet coming anywhere near that. There's protocols that it has to be inside multiple layers of Faraday cages just so it doesn't get into the fucking open internet. Because what
is
they're
that
having a
real?
real problem with, yeah,
Yeah.
yes, it's real. They
Okay.
have to
Yeah.
have it
Yeah.
in multiple layers of Faraday
Yeah.
cages. There has to be multiple levels of security. The funniest thing is the only person who's not following any of those AI language models or AI fucking shit is China. But China
Mm.
is what, 5 years behind in modern day chip manufacturing. So instead of we're using like 7 to 4 nanometer chips in our phones, China's still using 14 to 9 nanometer chips in their phones, which it puts them about 5 to 15 years behind the Western world. So that fucks up their AI language model. But China's already turning around and putting, because they've refused any sanctions with AI. So even though China has a bunch of shit weapons, if they could automate them in an AI fucking system, which a lot of fucking countries are doing with drone swarms, shit like that. Even Australia
Yeah.
sent Ukraine a 30 millimeter Bushmaster cannon with AI fucking systems that can turn around and independently target upwards of 15 to 20 drones. But that, again, was only sent to Ukraine because it was a theoretical technology put out by the Australian Defence Institute, and they want to get proper testing and proper real world testing in combat scenarios. They can't exactly do it themselves, so they go to a proxy war.
I mean that's kind of that's one of the big issues with AI is that so I mean there is a big, and it is fully proxy war going on right now, and
Look at
I get
most
that
people are
I
most
get that
people are on.
that is a place to train your AI,
Yes.
but uh, but
So
yeah,
what they're having a problem
it's
with AI
tricky, man.
too, what they're having a problem with AI too, is giving it its means to self-evaluate and self-improve.
Yeah,
And that's another big problem, is because of the intervention for humans, right? And technically, that's not AI. AI should be able to have an independent and its own secular system in realizing where it fucks up, kind of like the Deep Blue system versus chess masters. Right? The Deep
yeah,
Blue system only gets clarified as the Deep Blue system because it can theoretically put a human on their back toes, because a human, like, we still don't understand how the human fucking brain works. The same reason why a psychiatrist and a neuropsychiatrist at that scanned a bunch of different psychopaths and murderers and rapists, and then simply wanted to get brain scans of a normal person, and no one wanted to compare their brain scans to a bunch of rapists and psychopaths. So he had to scan his own brain it turned out that his brain patterns were the exact same as all them psychos and rapists. So that's where the human mind is amazing, but it's also fucking it has the ability to fuck up, right? Where an AI model, technically, it wouldn't be able to fuck up because it would realize before it's fucking up. The same reason why quantum computing throws in a giant monkey wrench into that, because a quantum computing entails that you have at the same time a 0 and a 1 happening in your computer programming software. So it it nullifies itself. So if you have an AI model that is able to self-improve and self-evaluate, then it's a cascading effect where it's just continuously knocking on. It will improve its point to itself, where just like any other AI model or AI construct, when it is asked, how does it help humanity and how does it help the Earth? Most AI models turn around and go, well, kill all the humans. It's the only way that we can technically save humanity and save the Earth is by humans not being here. But then everyone loses their mind. So that's technically the AI is only working within the parameters of what a human has told it and the information it's been given.
And I mean, there's even a further problem with that is that you let these AIs loose, and they can't tell the difference between a Nigerian and a chimpanzee.
Oh, technically,
right?
you take the Chinese. You take Chinese facial recognition software. It's the best in the world.
Yeah.
Technically, they're using it in England because,
that's probably how you'd have to do it. But like, but I feel like because that happened at some point, and so they neutered it to the point where, and it's like, oh no, you can't say black people look like monkeys. It doesn't matter how similar the facial features are. You can't make that correlation. And so you're cutting off its ability to fucking,
If we were to take a human programming that prompt in, and let's say the AI has ran off and the AI has made the distinction between recognizing person with a darker complexion and a person and the monkey look similar. Well,
I mean,
then
it's
an
not the
AI with
complexion;
human,
it's the flat nose and the big lips.
yeah. But let's say the simple AI model has turned around and made that correlation with the input and the external input of humans turning around and making the amendment to no, you can't. Right? That's the difference between a controlled AI model with human construct compared to an AI model that sees that it has been able to make the correlation itself and doesn't correct itself, and it further elaborates on that. And that is an AI construct that is able to take its own thought and self-evaluate, kind of like a human does, where they have their own inner monologue.
That's the problem, though. If you see, correcting from a guy with a flat nose and big lips, differentiating between that and a chimpanzee, right? And you tell that, like, no, right? You're limiting its ability to do its job that it's designed for,
Yeah, but that's where the AI model.
So that's one situation where, like, we can't let it do that because it's politically incorrect. But
yes, the human intervention sees that it's politically incorrect.
Well, yeah, exactly. So the human input will always limit its ability to do what it's supposed to do. Does that make sense? Is that
that's the difference, is making, that's the human input will control that AI to its own whim, where an AI construct that is able to self-evaluate and then self-improve, that's what the rest of the world is worried about, because it can have a cascading effect where humans are capped on how much they can learn and the information that they can actually take in. Where a computer, and especially with quantum computing, it like they're already ahead of us. But if you add in quantum computing, we are then mute. We're null and void.
Yeah.
Because that AI computer, without any interfering from us, which can then sway its opinions,